A war that lasted for 10 years, a battle that claimed thousands of lives, a catastrophe that reduced a mighty kingdom to ashes. But none of it began with a sword or an army. It all began with a wedding. According to Greek mythology, a magnificent celebration was held on Mount Olympus. It was the wedding of the mortal hero Peleus and the sea goddess Thetis. But behind this marriage lay a terrifying secret. A prophecy had foretold that Thetis would bear a son more powerful than his own father. Zeus, who had overthrown his father Cronus to become the king of Olympus, had no desire to face the same fate. So instead of marrying Thetis himself, he arranged for her to marry the mortal hero Peleus. Their son would later become known as Achilles, the greatest warrior in all of Greece. Every major god and goddess of Olympus was invited to the wedding. Everyone except one. She was Eris, the goddess of strife, jealousy, and discord. The gods knew that if Eris attended the celebration, peace would not last. So they deliberately left her uninvited. But Eris never forgot the insult. Filled with rage, she threw a shining golden apple into the middle of the feast. On it were written just a few words. One golden apple, one short sentence. But it sparked the greatest dispute Olympus had ever seen. Hera, the queen of the gods, Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. Each claimed that the apple belonged to her. Zeus could have made the decision himself, but he knew that no matter whom he chose, the other two would become his enemies. So he placed the decision in the hands of a mortal. His name was Paris, the young prince of Troy. Each of the three goddesses tried to win Paris over. Hera promised him the most powerful kingdom in the world. Athena promised to make him an undefeated warrior. But Aphrodite offered something entirely different. I will give you the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris made his choice. He chose Aphrodite. And in that very moment, the fate of Troy was sealed. The woman Aphrodite had promised was Helen. She was known as the most beautiful woman in the world, but she was also the wife of Menelaus, the king of Sparta. Paris traveled to Sparta as a peaceful guest, and Menelaus welcomed him with honor. But according to Greek mythology, Paris left for Troy, with Helen by his side. When Menelaus returned, his wife was gone, and so was the Prince of Troy. This was no ordinary love story. It was an unforgivable insult to a king. Consumed by anger, Menelaus turned to his brother, Agamemnon. Agamemnon was the most powerful king in all of Greece. He sent a single message to every Greek king. One after another, they answered the call. Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax, Diomedes, Nestor. The greatest heroes of Greece united under a single army. Thousands of soldiers, hundreds of ships, one destination. But before that journey could even begin, the gods demanded another human life. And that decision became the very first drop of blood in the Trojan War. Finally, the Greek fleet reached the shores of Troy. What stood before them was no ordinary city. Towering walls, massive gates, a fortress that no army had managed to break for years. This was Troy. The city was ruled by King Priam. His eldest son Hector was not only Troy's greatest warrior, but also a leader willing to sacrifice everything for his people. The Greeks launched their first assault, but Troy did not fall easily. Days passed, months passed, years passed. 1 year, 3, 5, 8. Finally, even after 10 long years, Troy still stood. The Greeks had the greatest heroes in the world, but there was one thing they still lacked: a way inside the city. Meanwhile, a dangerous conflict erupted within the Greek camp itself. between the powerful king, Agamemnon, and the greatest warrior, Achilles. Agamemnon insulted Achilles' honor. Furious, Achilles withdrew from the war. That single decision changed the course of the entire conflict. Without Achilles, the Greek army was pushed back again and again. The one who took full advantage of the situation was Hector. Leading from the front, he drove the Greeks all the way back to the beach where their ships were anchored. Hope inside the Greek camp was slowly fading away. Then, Achilles' closest friend, Patroclus, made an extraordinary request. "If you won't fight, then let me wear your armor." Achilles agreed, but he gave him one warning. "Drive the Trojans back, but do not chase them all the way to the city." At first, the plan worked perfectly. The Trojans believed Achilles had returned to battle. They began to retreat. But in the excitement of victory, Patroclus forgot Achilles' warning. He chased the Trojans all the way to the gates of Troy. There, he came face to face with Hector. A brutal duel, one fatal mistake. In the end, Patroclus fell to the ground. He was dead. The moment Achilles heard the news, his grief turned into unstoppable rage. He put his armor back on, and with that, the end of Troy's greatest hero was drawing near. 10 years, thousands of lives, countless battles, but Troy still stood. The Greeks finally realized they could not defeat this city by force. They needed a plan, not built on strength, but on intelligence. That plan came from Odysseus, the cleverest warrior among the Greeks. His idea was unlike anything they had tried before. Build a massive wooden horse, place it outside the gates of Troy as an offering to the goddess Athena. Then make the Trojans believe that the Greek army had finally abandoned the war and sailed away. At first, the idea sounded impossible, but after 10 years of endless fighting, this was their final chance. Within days, the giant wooden horse was completed. Under the cover of darkness, Odysseus and a group of chosen Greek warriors hid inside the horse. The rest of the Greek army boarded their ships and disappeared into the sea, but they had not truly left. They were hiding behind the island of Tenedos, waiting for the perfect moment. At sunrise, the people of Troy saw something unbelievable. The Greek camp was empty, and standing before their gates was a massive wooden horse. They believed the Greeks had finally accepted defeat and gone home. But not everyone was convinced. A Trojan priest named Laocoon warned his people. "Do not trust the Greeks, even when they bring gifts." He threw his spear toward the wooden horse. For a moment, the entire city fell silent. According to legend, 2 giant sea serpents emerged from the ocean. They attacked Laocoon and his 2 sons. The Trojans believed this was a sign from the gods. They thought the horse was sacred and should be brought inside the city. Meanwhile, a Greek soldier named Sinon had stayed behind intentionally. He allowed the Trojans to capture him. Then he told them a lie. "The Greeks abandoned me. This horse is an offering to Athena. If you bring it inside your city, Troy will be protected forever." That lie sealed the fate of Troy, celebrating what they believed was victory. The Trojans dragged the giant wooden horse through their city gates. That night, Troy was filled with celebration. But they did not know they had brought their own destruction inside their walls. The night grew darker, the city fell asleep, and in the silence, the wooden horse slowly opened. Odysseus, Menelaus, Neoptolemus, and the Greek warriors stepped out. They moved through the sleeping city and opened the gates of Troy. The Greek fleet returned from the sea. Thousands of soldiers rushed into the city. After 10 years of resisting the greatest army in Greece, Troy finally fell. Fire spread across the city. One of the greatest cities of the ancient world was destroyed. The old king Priam made one final attempt to defend his city, but against Neoptolemus, the son of Achilles, he had no chance. The end of the Trojan royal family was written that night. Helen was reunited with Menelaus. According to some legends, his anger and pain almost drove him to kill her. But in the end, he took Helen back to Sparta. The 10-year Trojan War was finally over. But this victory did not bring happiness to every Greek hero, because for one warrior, the greatest struggle was only beginning. His name was Odysseus. After defeating Troy, he set sail for his homeland. But the anger of the gods, dangerous seas, and impossible challenges were waiting for him. For the next 10 years, Odysseus would fight to return home. That incredible journey would become known to the world as the Odyssey.